What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and boy do we have a huge Madden 20 update today. I did a video a couple days ago telling you that it was coming, but this update has way more than I even thought or heard about, and honestly this game is about to change, I think, in a big way. I don't really know if it's going to be for better or worse yet. There's some good stuff in this update, but there's also some stuff I don't like, so we're going to get into it in a second. If you're new here and you want to stay up to date on all the changes with Madden, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you never miss any of these uploads. So let's get into it. We're going to talk, there's a lot of gameplay stuff, there's franchise stuff, there's new abilities, new XFactor players, all that stuff. So first we'll start with the XFactor players. We got new ones in the game. We got some players that lost their X Factor. So a new X Factor player is Dalvin Cook, running back for the Vikings. He is replacing Melvin Gordon, who is no longer an X Factor. His abilities are, for his X Factor zone ability, he has first one free. His superstar abilities are jukebox and inside zone guru, which are really good. So Dalvin Cook is now way better. Packers cornerback Jari Alexander is now an X Factor. He is replacing Ben Roethlisberger, who is hurt. His X Factor is shutdown, and his superstar abilities are man up and acrobat. So he is now going to play like a shutdown cornerback. And lastly, we have Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones. He is replacing Cam Newton, who is also injured. And honestly, we don't even know if he's going to play again when he gets back because Kyle Allen's been playing good. His X Factor is Fearmonger, and his superstar abilities are Power Move Specialist and Under Pressure. So the Chiefs have such a great offense on this game, but their defense is not that good. Now they get a huge boost here with a guy that can get to the quarterback. We also have some new superstar players. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, his ability is Cross Route Specialist. Titan safety Kevin Byard, a lot of people have been asking about him. He is now a superstar player. He has the pick artist ability. Buccaneers outside linebacker Shaquille Barrett has edge rush elite because he has been going crazy with the sacks early in the year. That is a really good ability. The only other player I think that has that is JJ Watt, so that lets you know how good that ability is. Packers defensive tackle Kenny Clark is a superstar. He has the inside stuff ability, which is a new ability we'll go over a little bit later in the video. Falcons middle linebacker Deion Jones has the lurker ability, so that's also a pretty good one. And here, Chargers running back Melvin Gordon, he's been downgraded to a regular superstar. He still has his jukebox ability, which honestly is what made him good. The other abilities really weren't that good anyway, so he's still really just as good in the game. And Ben Roethlisberger's been downgraded to an X Factor as well. He's been downgraded to a regular superstar, and he has his sleight of hand ability, his pump fake ability. Now these guys lost their superstar altogether. Cowboys linebacker Vander Esch is no longer a superstar. Cam Newton no longer a superstar. Stephon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, Tariq Cohen, and Baker Mayfield. Lattimore's been playing good the last few weeks, but this update was probably submitted when he wasn't playing as good, so I'm guessing that's why he lost this. Same for Vander Esch. But yeah, I mean, these guys could potentially get it back, but these things are fluid. They're going to change all year long. People are going to gain them. People are going to lose them, depending on how they're playing. Now, we have new abilities in the game. We have two new X Factor zone abilities. The first one is called Protective Custody. Ball carriers with this ability are immune to fumbling when they get in the zone. I don't really have a problem with that because you don't see players get in the zone that much anyway, and I feel like fumbling has been reduced a lot as is, so not really that big of a deal for him not to be able to fumble. And we have the Mossed ability, which I don't like, but again, it's an X Factor, so a player has to get in the zone to do it. It says, inspired by legend Randy Moss, when the players with this ability enter the zone, they will win contested catches regardless of coverage on passes of 50 yards or more. But if you have a defensive back on him that has a coverage ability, then it's just going to go back to the ratings versus ratings. Now, again, you have to get in the zone to use this, so that's why it's not as bad to me, because you don't see players get in the zone that often. But the way contested catches are in this game right now over the past month, like, you don't even need this ability. On a per play basis, if you throw it up into coverage, you have a good chance, no matter who the wide receiver is, you have a good chance to come down with the ball anyway. So, like, I don't know how they could see that and think that we needed more ways to make catches in coverage, because the catches in coverage right now, in my opinion, are out of control. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, we have new superstar abilities. Most of these are abilities to stop the run, which was something I feared EA would do. Like, hey, we can't completely fix the run game, so we're going to add abilities to do what you should be able to do regardless, or because we can't fix the pursuit or make run defense better, we're going to put abilities in the game, so now, hey, go get abilities and you can stop the run. Now, they did actually make some good changes to the run game, which we'll talk about when we get to the gameplay portion, but this is like kind of the part one that they did, was added new abilities. So we have a Lumberjack, which prevents broken tackles, and they can cause fumbles when you do the cut stick, which is the low hit stick at the legs. Regular players can't cause fumbles on those, lumberjack players can, but the main thing here is they're going to prevent broken tackles if you have like a linebacker with that ability. The out of my way ability is basically they always win versus impact block attempts by a wide receiver, tight end, or a back. So if you have like a wide receiver in the open field running at a linebacker that has out my way, the linebacker is going to pretty much just run him over. So I don't think a lot of people are going to use that one, honestly. We have goal line stuff. Defensive ability allowing quick block sheds against one-on-one run blocks within 5 yards of the goal line. So that's where it's the hardest sometimes to stop the run. They just need a couple yards to get in. If you have this ability, it's just going to be an auto block shed, and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't like that. Inside stuff, this is what Kenny Clark got. There's a defensive ability allowing quick block sheds against one-on-one run blocks on inside running plays. So if you have a defensive tackle with inside stuff and you try to run an inside zone or a halfback dive at him, he's pretty much just going to blow up the center or the guard, whoever he's lined up over, and you're probably going to lose yards, which again, I don't like that. I don't like an ability that says, hey, he's going to automatically just bulldoze the offensive line no matter how good your offensive lineman is. If you have Jason Kelsey, one of the best run blockers in front of this guy, because he has this ability, he's going to just run him over, and even though you should be able to get yards because maybe they're in a bad defense, because of this ability, you have no shot to get yards. I don't like that. There's another ability called No Outsiders, which is basically for outside runs. Block sheds against one-on-one run blocks on outside runs, so like stretches or tosses. So you'd probably put that on a defensive end or outside linebacker. Again, if you're in a weak defense to the outside, but you have the one guy with this ability who can just bulldoze the guy in front of him and tackle me for a loss, I don't like that. I don't think that's the answer. And lastly, they added an ability called Tank, inspired by Rob Gronkowski. Ball carriers with this ability can break all hit stick tackles except against an enforcer. Then it goes by the ratings. And this is only available for tight ends and ultimate teams. So regular players and stuff, you don't have to worry about this. I don't like this as well. I don't think any player should just be immune to getting hit sticked. But yeah, they do what they do. So now we'll talk about gameplay stuff, and then we'll get into the franchise stuff. So here's what they did in the run game gameplay wise, and these fixes I think are actually good. These actually make sense. The abilities is what I don't like. I don't like using abilities to fix your game. I feel like that's not the proper way to do it. But here, they did some good stuff. So they reintroduced stumbling for ball carriers in specific situations. It says, we have re-enabled the functionality that causes ball carriers to stumble when running into traffic in specific situations. We have isolated stumbling to situations where they are necessary, but will continue to monitor and take feedback. So one of the biggest problems is you run into the back of your defenders and you can just run in place, and because the pursuit is bad, you come out the other end and usually you'll get good yards. Now you'll probably stumble a lot more often, which will reduce the yard you can get. I'm fine with that. They reduced the frequency of auto broken tackles versus AI controlled and user controlled defenders when using conservative tackle. It says this tuning will significantly decrease the frequency of a ratings based broken tackle on competitive game style, with an even lower chance of a broken tackle if the conservative tackle is being performed by a user controlled defender. So again, that's another problem. You could make the conservative tackle, you can make the good play, but that auto broken tackle would just make you bounce off of them. There's a lot of times where you would have good run defense, but because of no stumbling and because of auto broken tackles and stuff like that, you were getting more yards than you should have. So these are good fixes. I like those. They tuned to prevent auto broken tackles when ball carriers are using the cover ball mechanic, and also prevented you can't retain top speed anymore when covering the ball. So that was another two things that weren't good. People would just hold the cover ball button as soon as they got it, so they would really never fumble, but they could still for some reason run at top speed, and also it would cause them to break more tackles. So they reduced the broken tackles on covering the ball, and you will no longer run at top speed. Again, those are two good fixes. Those are what they should have been fixing instead of adding new abilities, in my opinion. Those are the main gameplay updates. There's a couple more. It says here they tuned to reduce situations where AI controlled players are allowed to cause fumbles on competitive game style. So it says, based on player feedback, Madden players have expressed that AI controlled defenders can have too much of an impact on the outcome of games when they can cause fumbles as frequently as user controlled defenders. So now, people would like run their, user into place and then click off of them, especially with the enforcer ability, because the enforcer ability always hit sticks you. But people would click off and let the computer do it, and that would cause fumbles a lot. So now, if you are not doing a user hit stick, the computer hit stick will cause way less fumbles, except versus scrambling quarterbacks. Versus a scrambling quarterback, they could still fumble the same way, but if it's a running back, ball carrier, they're not going to fumble as much unless you manually do it. I'm fine with that because I don't think the computer should be having the same type of effect as a user. The user play should be rewarded more, so I'm okay with that. And the last big issue here is the scum kick was fixed. It said they fixed an issue allowing inaccurate sky kickoffs near the sideline to be frequently recovered by the kicking team. This has come to be known in the community as the scum kick. This fix will force kickoffs that are inaccurate to go out of bounds. Now, I'm glad they fixed it. I knew they were going to fix it. The problem's going to be if somebody else finds another way to do it, and usually people always find another way to scum kick. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this addresses it, and I'd be fine with that. So, there are some other gameplay fixes you could check out in the blog, but to be honest, those are by far the most important and the most, necessary to the game. Now, we're going to talk about the franchise mode update. So, they fixed an issue causing all players from a downloaded draft class file to appear as an early first rounder in the Scout College Players tile. It says players will only see this fix when importing a new file or re-importing the same draft class file. This fix activates when the import is processed, so existing leagues will have to make sure to import before it will take effect. They fixed an issue causing leagues' injury records to be deleted when toggling off the pre-existing injury league setting during the season. They fixed an issue with the menu when creating a new cloud franchise league using real-life rosters and navigating the Choose Week menu. They improved advanced week loading times in offline leagues when the league has multiple characters. They fixed an issue in multi-user leagues when menus would persist when another user advanced the week. They added a warning for coaches about to save settings when switching between offense and defense in the auto subs menu. They updated players that are last chance players that won their free agency the following week if not re-signed to now be listed as 0 years remaining in the team salary menu. They fixed an issue in the Trade Center menu, making tight ends and wide receivers now show stats for receptions and receiving yards. Halfbacks now display rushing touchdowns and rushing yards. And they fixed an issue causing the retire text to say undrafted when the face of the franchise QB1 was cut from the team. So nothing really crazy with franchise there. It just seems like they fixed little bugs. They didn't add anything new, so maybe the next update we'll see things like 5th-year options and things finally added. Presentation updates. They updated some commentary, just to stay up to date with what's going on in the NFL, I would assume. And they updated the Buccaneers' defensive starting lineup presentation to reflect a 3-4 defense rather than a 4-3 because that's what they run now. So that's the main thing there. Ultimate Team got a pretty significant update here. This is honestly one of the best things in this if you're an Ultimate Team player. They added functionality for players to get currency refunds for superstar abilities. It says all superstar abilities, zone abilities, and chemistry will be eligible for a 90% refund at all times. Players can choose to manually go and refund individual abilities/chemistries, or the refund will happen automatically when downgrading an item. After refunding the ability chemistry, it will need to be purchased again if you were to choose to re-equip it. That is honestly amazing because the past 2 years this has been an issue. It should never have been an issue, but if you put an ability on a player, but then maybe you want to upgrade that player, a new player comes out, you want to upgrade him, you would never get a refund for that ability. So if you wanted that same ability on the new player, you'd have to pay for it all over again, and these things are super expensive. Or maybe you want to just try out some new abilities and see how certain things work. You would pay to try it out, but if you didn't like it, that was it. You were just out of everything. Getting 90% back is honestly a huge win because it's almost like now you can test out abilities almost for nothing. I mean, that 10% isn't that big of a deal. I'm fine with that. I think that is honestly great, and thank God they added that because it's just getting too expensive to put. And with the way the game plays, you need abilities. You just need them in the game because of how this game plays. You can't be out there with no abilities if you're playing Ultimate Team. So I'm glad they added that. They did an update to MUT Draft as well, which is pretty cool here. It says they added an additional coach round at the end of the draft with an option to choose a new playbook. So you can choose one of 3 playbooks in your first coach round like normal, but then you have the option to choose a new playbook from 3 new choices in the final coach round, which is really cool because I think one of the main issues with MUT Draft is sometimes you could just get 3 terrible playbooks. Some playbooks in the game just aren't good. So now that you have 6 options, there's a more likelihood that you can get a playbook that you're comfortable with, and I think that's a good fix. I like that. They also added player likeness for Rob Gronkowski and Calvin Johnson to look like themselves, so that's cool. And then lastly here we have some updates to the Superstar KO mode for the people that like this mode. So Snoop Dogg has been added as an icon to the Superstar KO pool. As many of you know, Snoop Dogg's a big Madden fan. He's always involved. He joins the Superstar KO as a legendary wide receiver, so he can, be drafted as one of those legendary players. They also added some additional legendary players. They added Rob Gronkowski, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, and Ray Lewis. They also added the new superstars to the game that were the new X Factors that just joined the game today: Chris Jones, Jari Alexander, and Dalvin Cook. And they also just did some presentation updates, new cameras and shots, and they added the coach on stage when you win during the team celebration. So overall, one of the biggest updates of the year. Not sure where the game's going to go from here. I think the run game is definitely going to be a lot more nerfed. I think you're going to see a lot more people passing, and you're going to see a lot more escape artists, which in my opinion is still the most broken ability in the game. I kind of fear for where the game is going. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm going to test this out and do a video covering some of the new abilities and how they play and how the game is playing, probably, within the next couple days. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, as always, you know the drill. Just like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.